Welcome to the Data Coffee Break podcast. I'm Marc.
And I'm Christian.
If you are passionate about data like us, take a seat, relax, and join us to our coffee break where we discuss all things data.
And remember, there are no filters, no PR.
It's just a real life experience. So let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Data Coffee Break podcast. And we're recording on a Friday, so on my side, Christian, I'm drinking a beer. What about you?
Not yet.
No coffee.
No coffee, but not yet beer. What are you having?
It's called Neck Oil for the international audience. So it's a beer we found in the UK. Session IPA in Neck Oil.
Nice.
I think is my favorite. What's your favorite on your side?
I love the Brewdog IPA as well. Let us know on the comments which one is your favorite one, and we will be more than happy to invite you for a Neck Oil or a Brewdog IPA.
Come and taste the beer we have, yeah.
I know.
And Friday is a fantastic day, like to browse LinkedIn to see what we have. I don't know if you saw, it's a truck in the UK. You can recognize the registration number. They say Lords of the Beans, waste clearance, 1 ring to remove it all. It's just hilarious to see that. I love it.
Yes. Hilarious.
Great marketing.
Hashtag creativity.
Yeah. So what are we tackling today in the episode?
Today we are giving you life hacks to how to stay in the game on the data or technology landscape.
Yeah.
One of my previous managers, he told me that it is really important to always be up to date and upskilling because you're like a ninja and your sword needs to be polished from time to time. If you use your sword all the time, it will become blunt.
I love the analogy. It's fantastic. No, you're right. It's super important. In our brain is what brings value in this world, in the data world in particular. So if we don't keep ourselves up to date, we become, I don't want to say irrelevant, but that's what can help us at least to move forward. Let's say in terms of position, in terms of pay. So that's quite important indeed. What's your first hack?
My first life hack is always block some time. We are always busy, right? Having a routine is actually important, but it can become like something that you are so busy every single day, meeting after meeting or session and or coding that you don't have time to think. The way that I do this is that sometimes I take my calendar and I just block some time to prepare to upskill. I don't know, Marc, how do you block your time?
Yeah. So in my case, it will depend as well the policy in the company. So some of those will encourage employees to have some dedicated time to learn. I will say those companies are the companies you should work for because it's so important. That means they understand that you are bringing a lot of value. And if you don't keep yourself up to date in the technology landscape, you lose some of your value and you lose some of the potential for your employer as well. So if you have this time on my side, I like to block morning in this case or a few hours, on a specific day because I prefer to go deep dive into learning a topic for a few hours rather than spreading that around an entire week. After obviously, winter is a season fantastic for that. Yeah. Over the weekend, if it's like a bad weather, if it's bad weather outside, I will spend quite a bit of time on the Saturday studying.
Yes, definitely encourage that. And your point of doing it in the early mornings, I think that I learn better on the evening.
Okay.
but again, is whatever works best for everybody.
All right. The second hack on my side. I had it in mind in one way, but a few years ago, I have a colleague. His nickname is Gaz. He put it in a very nice way. Is to have a T-shaped learning structure. The meaning is the horizontal bar means you develop your knowledge across different fields or within a field across different topics quite broadly. So that means you're not going to go too much in depth on this one, but you are able to have a good conversation and a good understanding on all of those topics in this case. And the vertical bar of the T letter will be going in depth on a very specific subtopic, on a very specific subject. I forgot if we call that topics, but what Martin said in his episode on NLP, be known for something.
Yes, I remember.
So that means going deep dive in one of those specific subtopic or sub-subject, depending on what you're looking at. And that will be my idea.
I like that. If you are a consultant that is working on data, maybe you can think about an end-to-end environment. So from the data sources, you know the process of integration, the process of data warehousing, but you can actually focus on one of the three, right? So you can be very good at ETL or ELT, or you can be very good at data warehousing, or can be very good at visualization. Yeah. And if you work on the product related, right? The products right now are so broad and they cover so many areas that you can be good at I don't know, at the infrastructure piece of the product or at the APIs or integration with other systems. I like that. I really like that. The analogy of the T-shape learning.
And it's so important. So if we look in our role, we work on platforms which are quite broad. In both cases, we know which colleague we need to reach out when we have a specific question on a very particular aspect of the platform. And they know they can reach out to you, make yourself known, obviously, but they know that you can reach out to you to ask you a question on REST API or whatever is a question, very, very specific in this case. No, definitely. All right. Next one.
Yeah, next hack. It's a bit personal, but I always like having an action plan. It's not only about tracking your knowledge or what you're planning to achieve, but for example, I always like to have an objective. For example, I would like to be certified on whatever product, technology that you think about, and you say, okay, I'm going to get certified in 3 months, in 6 months, and work towards that. You can decide how detailed is your action plan, but that is something that always works and it's something that you can actually measure.
Yeah, and you're right, because that means you know where you're going in a way, because we can be pulled in so many directions. I don't put a negative aspect on like learning something that shouldn't be on your plate, but it's in particular if you targeting a new role, if you're targeting a promotion, putting in place into an action plan is like, it means you will reach this goal much faster.
Yes.
And if you expose that to your management, this is proof that you are like, you know what you want. Yeah. This is proof that you know how to handle yourself when it comes to learning, and they will put more trust and confidence on you, I would say.
It's my experience as well. If you are open with your management, say, I'm looking for this and this is what it's going to bring back to our organization, or I'm looking for this new role or position, you can even ask for that help or carve out this action plan with them. Right. What's next?
Next one, I will say shadowing. So that might be a cryptic word for many people. What does that mean? I think this comes from a perspective of being client facing, which is not the case for all the roles, but for sure it can apply to a data analyst, a data engineer. The simple idea is like having someone you can learn from. I'm not speaking about a mentor here, but I'm speaking more like on the job, having the opportunity to shadow someone, to learn what's the best way. So that means you're going to save time in terms of learning, because you're going to learn from someone who already went through the entire process. So let's say you work in a pre-sales role, solution engineering role, solution architect role. You take the opportunity to go on calls with your colleagues simply when you get into a new job, or maybe to specialize on the specific topic. And you go there and you just listen to the conversation and try to absorb as much information as you can, because that's so invaluable what they can share with you. I would say the times where we were always going to the office was fantastic for that, because again, in our role, we were like sitting next to each other, speaking with clients on the phone, over like a Zoom, WebEx, or whatever was the platform. Yeah. And we could listen our colleagues approaching topics in a different way, techniques they were using to explain to clients, ways to simplify.
Even delivering a demo.
Yeah, delivering a demo, etc. So I miss a bit those times where we were able to be in the office all the time. So I would say if you have the opportunity to go to the office to shadow, to be in this environment, to be in this brewing learning, this is the best.
I know. being able to see others in situations that you will encounter anyway, such as those calls on Zoom, WebEx, or by overhearing, that's invaluable knowledge. I also had the experience of shadowing on development as well. I used to do, for example, integrations or using a specific tool, and I didn't know much about the tool, so I got with the expert, and I just asked the person, can I sit and see how you are doing your stuff? You don't need to worry about explaining me. I just want to see how you organize your code, how you do the deployment, and have a conversation. I mean, shadowing is really, really invaluable knowledge.
You fast track your learning so well with shadowing, yeah. So what do you have as next hack?
Right, next hack. Find a platform to keep learning. Some companies, they have a partnership with the likes of Coursera, Pluralsight. By all means, go and use that. But I would say as well, try to get into the habit of finding blogs, even go through YouTube videos. Informal learning is amazing these days. And I personally, when I wanted to, for example, get a bit more in depth with a specific technology, there are platforms like HackerRank, which are for free, that you can actually go and say, hey, I would like to learn Python. Why not? And where can I actually practice? Well, HackerRank is a place where you can actually go on, and that is free. So
what's the idea of HackerRank? So they give you exercises, or?
Yeah, they give you challenges, and as you are, you choose your programming language, and as you are progressing, you get like badges, and you can you can decide what level of the level of difficulty of the exercise, and depending on that, you get more points. It's actually
gamification.
Yes, exactly, gamification. Even to learn SQL, for example, right? So yes, I mean, Coursera, Pluralsight, all of those, of course, find a platform. But also I would say don't forget about those that are more informal and free as well.
Yeah. And I would add on that, in those one, let's say you want to continue learning on the specific topic, like if you have the opportunity to subscribe to a newsletter,
yes,
that's a good way to keep fed with the information relevant to your field. That's a good one to have.
Yes. And I, of course, didn't mention, but of course you can listen to podcasts like these ones. I usually also listen to the Data Engineer podcast.
Mm-hmm. I'm listening sometime as well, this podcast called Data Skeptics.
Oh, yes.
It's a good one. I love it.
Love it. Quick one. If you're enjoying this episode and our show, please make sure you follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Links on the description as per usual.
Also, if you'd like to grow this community with us, think about sharing this episode with a friend or a colleague interested about all things data.
Now, back to the episode.
All right, next one, I'm going to take it. That could be a debatable topic, let's say. But I would say go for interviews.
Okay.
Why? If you're seeking to reach a specific role in particular, this is the best way forwards, because going through an interview process, you're going to be facing and challenged over like the skill sets you need to build, and the recruiter, the future manager, is obviously going to deep dive and try to dissecate your profile and try to find where are the gaps. Obviously, the job description is going to show what is an ideal candidate. You cannot fulfill every single point most of the time, but going through a job interview also give you a better idea of what is actually super important for the role, for this specific company or for the role in general, and what will be the gaps you have in your profile. So that does mean that sometimes you're going to fail the job interview. Potentially, sometimes you're going to get an offer. So after, it's up to you to decide if you want to move or not.
Yeah, we're telling our audience to, look for another job.
I'm not saying, I actually, it's an advice I received from an ex-colleague. And he told me that basically he was going through interviews around every 3 to 4 months. And I was super shocked. Wow. I was quite impressed because in my mind, you go for an interview only when you want to change job. He said, no, it's to also identify what I'm missing out there in terms of opportunities, yes, but also what I should be learning and where are my gaps if I want to stay competitive on the market.
Yeah, it's. I agree with the fact that this will push you if you take it seriously. I don't personally do that, but I've heard that other people also doing or a way to challenge themselves, and yeah, if that works, go for it.
That could be time consuming, of course, but this is a good way forward.
All right, so I'll take the next one. Expand your network. And when we talk about expand your network, we're not talking about social media, go and friend everybody. There are multiple communities out there. So I would say a great way to do that is by joining one of those communities like the Pre-Sales Collective for pre-sales. That's an amazing community there. There are many other Slack communities like the DBT community. Don't want to call all the different vendors here, but I'm pretty sure that each vendor that you're interested in, there is already a community out there that you can join, discuss, see what other people are doing. I find it really refreshing, and it's always a new learning experience.
Yeah. Does that mean including like going to networking events?
Yes, why not? I mean, like going to networking events, absolutely. There are some of them. I think you went recently to one. No, Mark?
Yeah, I went to see a Firebolt.
Yes, Firebolt one.
Presentation in London, which was very interesting, and that made me face a lot of data engineer and analytics engineer in the room. That was really fun conversation I had.
Exactly. Finding new ways of seeing what your knowledge is always valuable. What's the next one?
Yes, for the next hack, I will say to go out of your comfort zone. And that's basically the idea of to think outside the box, to look for different domains to explore, to basically go in different areas. So let's be a bit concrete. So you are working in the data space. There is obviously many technologies you want to explore within this very specific space, or there is many part of the platform you want to explore. But sometimes it could be very good to just go in something completely different. I'm going to give my personal example, my personal experience on that. Pandemic time,
right?
Everything shut down. And I was not in the mood to learn, to go specifically dive into another technology or dive into another part of a platform. But I wanted to use my time in a way that could be valuable in terms of learning. So I went on Coursera and I started a modern art online class.
Wow.
That was fascinating.
Wow.
I can't consider myself as a person who will go often to a museum, a person who particularly appreciate modern arts, but the course was super well structured. I learned so much about some of those artists where they were exposing, in this case in New York. And that just like open your mind in so different ways. Yeah. It's not going to help me directly in my job, but I felt like, for example, in some conversation in networking events, that could be interesting.
Yes.
Some of those learning you can get to go out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
I don't know, in your mind, maybe what could be also part of going out of your comfort zone?
That's a good question, and I will need some time to think about it.
So let's go to the next hack in this case. Maybe we'll come back after.
Okay, Mark, I'll come back to you on that one. Let me just go to the next hack. I would say find a mentor.
All right.
I do have mentors and had many mentors in my career. It can be mentors for anything, like life mentor or career mentors. It's always great to hear from the experience from someone else. And in most cases, they are already more experienced and you can learn from. So that those individuals can help you even targeting which areas you should improve. Like they can help you seeing that, or even can help. I don't want to call it like a therapy session, but still, like sometimes,
it could be sometimes. Yeah.
Exactly. You want to discuss things that you're not discussing with your family members or with your manager, your boss, and your aspirations. I don't know, Mark, do you have a mentor?
Yeah, I have a mentor, and it's valuable. And in this case, I would advise in particular to make sure to have a regular catch up, to make sure it's like a kind of a meeting you always want to go for, and you come with like some questions, but it could be like super relaxed. It doesn't have to be super formal, like, because my mentor is a friend in this case. So in this case, I will have around a beer, or like sometime we go to have a coffee together. So it could be very relaxed, but it should be good to bring topics that you have questions, and this mentor should be there to challenge yourself, to go in different direction, or most likely to go in the right direction, obviously.
And talking about outside of the box, actually, in mentors, the mentor you mentioned that is your friend, and myself as well. I usually think about a mentor as someone that I know or that I work with, but a colleague at work, and it's something that I'm going to do as well. He had a meeting with one customer, one of the potential clients. He was not even a customer. And then, and he just mentioned, would you like to be my mentor? I don't want to sell you anything. I don't want to.
That's cool.
Do this. Would you like to be my mentor? And it's someone outside, of work, someone that you just met a couple of times. Would you identify that person is a C-level exec, or is someone super senior, or someone that is, and just go out and ask, would you like to be my mentor? And I'm actually about to do the same.
And you already have in mind the person you will ask?
Yes.
That's fantastic. Yeah. That's a good idea in this case. You have your answer from the hack in this case.
All right. Last one, I guess, Mark?
Yeah, let's do last one. Don't forget to take some time off. Simply in an aspect to don't burn out.
Yeah.
If we speak about learning, this is the same when you were at university, in school. You want a moment to rest.
Yeah.
You want a moment for your brain to relax, to wander off, to go for activities that are more physical. So you want to be in a different environment. You want to escape from learning as well sometimes, because it can be drowning.
Yes, Mark, I think you are spot on that one, especially during lockdown or COVID. So many people didn't find time to, myself included, I can say it, time to disconnect, and you may just forget about really have some time off, relax, and avoid burning out. Another thing that I would say is don't forget to take time off. Doesn't have to be necessarily holidays. If you respect your time with family, or your me time in the mornings before work, or the evenings, weekends, that is also something that is part of this, I would say.
And I think it's actually looping back to the very first hack you said around putting some time in your calendar.
Yeah.
Which basically mean you have this time for learning, and outside this dedicated time, you shouldn't do it. So you shouldn't make it as like extending through the entire evening, and you go to bed at 1 a.m. because you wanted to finish this chapter on whatever. And the day after you have a call at 9 a.m. for work. This is a very bad thing to do.
Exactly. All right, Mark, that was fantastic. Did you agree with our hacks? Let us know in the comments.
And I would say, I'm really curious now if anyone listening is going to change the way they approach their learning for their professional career. And in this case, until then, we're looking forward to have our next episode with a guest next week. Christian, have a good weekend.
Thanks for listening to this episode. This podcast represents our views and not the ones of our employers.
Our mission at the Data Coffee Break podcast is to inform you and help you grow in this always changing data field.
Follow us and get into the conversation with the community on our LinkedIn page and Instagram.
See you next Tuesday, and until then, keep your data caffeinated.